It is fair to say that Sergio Perez has had a disastrous F1 season so far, even though the Mexican currently sits second in the standings. He has one of the most dominant cars of all time, which is being driven to perfection by his teammate Max Verstappen. Verstappen has already wrapped up his third Drivers' Championship title and scored more than enough points to lead the Constructors' Championship alone. Verstappen has scored 251 points more than Perez, with Checo only outqualifying the world champion at 2 races heading into Mexico. He hadn't fared better in the races, where he had recorded only 2 classified finishes ahead of Max. These records put Perez's place on the 2024 grid at risk, with Red Bull known to be brutal with drivers. But Sergio had a great chance to turn things around at his home race in Mexico, where the vast majority of fans were there to watch him. But what happened? As has come to be expected with his recent chances, he blew it. But how did he get in this terrible situation? Perez made a good start to the season, winning 2 of the first 5 races and finishing as the runner-up in 2 of the others. This left him just 14 points behind Max heading into Monaco, a track which Perez won at last year. However, he had a dreadful weekend in the Principality, crashing out of Q1 and making 5 pit stops in the race, scoring no points after being lapped twice by Verstappen. In the 13 races since Monaco, Checo only picked up 4 podiums. In contrast, Verstappen won all but one of them. Heading into Mexico, Perez had also failed to reach Q3 8 times this year, something which should be guaranteed in the dominant RB18. Whilst it is highly likely that Perez will finish second in the standings and confirmed that the Red Bull team are world champions again, Perez's performances have simply not been good enough. And if the team were under more pressure, he would have likely lost his seat already. Perez signed a 2-year contract extension with the team following his Monaco win last year, which should see him stay with Red Bull into the end of 2024, but there have been whispers that the contract has clauses which could allow him to be released early. There is now a big threat to his seat, Daniel Ricciardo, who now drives for Red Bull's sister team Scuderia AlphaTauri. Ricciardo replaced Nick de Vries earlier in the year, but had to sit 5 races out due to a hand injury. Heading into Mexico, he had yet to score a point in his 3 race starts this year, but this was expected as points are far harder to come by at AlphaTauri. Ricciardo drove for Red Bull for 5 years in the past, winning 7 races in an era where they were not dominant. As well as Mexico being a chance for Perez to reignite his season, it was also a chance for Ricciardo to prove that he deserves that very seat. Ricciardo has had tough times of his own fairly recently, with 2 poor seasons at McLaren in 2021 and 2022. Red Bull are also believed to be long-time admirers of Ricciardo's former McLaren teammate Lando Norris, who former Red Bull driver Alex Albon believes has an open invitation to join the team in the future. However, the British driver has a contract until the end of 2025, so Ricciardo is a more realistic short-term option. Therefore, it was devastating for Perez when Ricciardo was able to secure AlphaTauri's best grid position of the year in qualifying when he put his AT04 in 4th. It was made even worse for Perez by the fact that he qualified behind in 5th. Perez had been faster than Ricciardo in all 3 practice sessions, but not when it mattered in qualifying. Ricciardo did receive a tow from his teammate, but it was still an embarrassing result for Checo. But he still had a full race to make up for it, or so he thought. The Mexico City crowd were expectant of a great drive from their hero, who has finished in the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez podium in the past 2 years. He had a great car and would surely get another podium if he kept it clean. When the lights went out, Perez got a great start, making use of the slipstream to go into turn 1 alongside Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. When Perez turned in, he made contact with Leclerc, causing his car to launch into the air and end up in the runoff area. Perez was then forced to retire due to floor and side pod damage. The majority of people saw it as a racing incident, and that Perez was right to attempt the move with the start he made at his home race. Many also feel that Sergio had the car to slowly climb up the field and should have settled for 3rd place after the first corner, giving him a great chance at getting only his 5th podium since Miami. Checo described the moment as the saddest of his career and was close to tears as he exited his car. Despite this, he said that he did not regret trying to be bold with a chance at leading his home race and agreed that it was a racing incident. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner agreed with this sentiment, saying that he was sad for Perez and the home fans. Horner said that he couldn't be blamed for going for glory. Red Bull advisor Dr. Helmut Marko also didn't blame Checo and added that he would be staying with the team next year, something that he has stated several times this season. The incident in Mexico perfectly illustrated Perez's desperation to turn his season around, and he failed to do so. Whilst Red Bull will continue to publicly state that he has a contract, a swap with Ricciardo cannot be ruled out.